Looks like we're the only ones who work around here. What's that all about? 6 radio stations, and it's John, Mark, and myself. That's it.
Yes, the creek was up. I rode into an empty parking lot here this morning.
What happened? Goodness, this is radio. Let's go. We got a job to do here, folks. 6:05 on a Friday, day after 4th of July, Independence Day. We are here on 95.7 FM KCMO. Hope you had an absolutely outstanding day celebrating America's birthday, 248 years after the fact. Try explaining Independence Day to a 5-year-old, by the way. It's kind of clunky, it's confusing, and almost 24 hours since I had that conversation with Claire, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still confused myself trying to explain to her America's birthday. But we're making progress every year.
Having her read the Federalist Papers, much, though, Pete. You just say it's America's birthday.
Hey, one paragraph of that, she's read more than most Americans.
Well, touche.
Oh, man. Well, I hope you had a full barbecue. Hope you weren't grilling your burgers like Chuck Schumer grills his burgers. But we had a great day, low-key, spent it with some neighbors in bed before the fireworks were exploding all over the neighborhood. So we got it done. Now, meantime, Joe Biden had himself a day as well. So this is the last thing I saw on my phone before I shut it down last night. It was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at an event last night in Washington, D.C., celebrating the 4th of July. And it's Kamala Harris almost calling Joe Biden the vice president. And then it's Joe Biden acting like he's Santa Claus at Christmas.
And we give thanks to our commander-in-chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day, Mark.
I got to see this video to see if he had like a Santa hat on or something. He's coming out on stage.
No. The handlers knew better than to let him go out there in the Santa Claus hat. But, man, I saw that last night. That's the last thing I saw before my head hit the pillow. And I started laughing hysterically. And Kate's like, what are you laughing at? Like, what could possibly be that funny at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night? And I'm like, ho, 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 happy Independence Day. I mean, stuff like that is not going to help Joe Biden's cause as we enter these next few days, which are critical in determining whether or not he is going to be the nominee. You just can't have stuff like that. And maybe you think that's kind of goofy. Maybe you're like, well, by the way, I don't think there's an excuse for that. It's not like he was like, hey-oh, happy Independence Day, like one of those deals. He goes, ho, ho, ho. When else do you say ho, ho, ho?
I don't know. Maybe he meant yo, yo, yo.
Well, yeah, I thought about that,
in
too.
In the spirit of AOC and what's his name in the Bronx?
Yeah, his old buddy Jamal Bowman.
Yeah.
I wondered that, too. Like, I listened to it multiple times. And I'm like, no, he's all in. Ho, ho, ho.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Independence Day. And I'm like, well, that's certainly a first. So between that and then also there was this radio interview that Joe Biden did yesterday. Or it aired yesterday. Not sure when he did it. It was in Philadelphia. Radio interview. And he talks about himself being the first black woman vice president.
Well, I looked at John Kennedy and said, well, he got elected. Why can't I get elected? By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman to serve with a black president. I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
Oh, boy. That was on WURD radio out of Philadelphia. And the New York Times even wrote about it. I figure maybe the New York Times wouldn't write about something like this. The New York Times writing here, headline, Biden stumbles over his words as he tries to steady re-election campaign. They write here, Mr. Biden made the mistake on WURD radio based in Philadelphia as he tried to deliver a line that he has repeated before about having pride in serving as vice president for President Barack Obama. Earlier in the interview, he boasted about appointing the first black woman to the Supreme Court and picking the first black woman to be vice president, but he made the mistake of calling himself the first female black vice president. So now we've got this George Stephanopoulos interview that is set to air this weekend, and this is really going to be the thing that decides whether or not Joe Biden goes on. The donor class, the media, and the American people are going to watch this thing, and it's going to be the last chance for Joe Biden to try to convince the American people that he's worthy of continuing on, that he's worthy of being the the president, that he can do this for another 4 years. I'm not sure how you can see any of these clips and come to that conclusion. Even if you're a Democrat, you've got to be saying to yourself, we have to move on. The problem is, where do you go? The polling suggests the only person that would beat Donald Trump is Michelle Obama. And I think there's a 1 in 100 chance she wants to do it or elects to do it. She's got a great life. Going to give that up to go back to D.C.? I don't see it right now for her. But she's the only one that can beat Donald Trump, which really tells you about the weakness of the bench that's been created there. And that's what it is, a wildly weak bench. And that's because what's been prioritized? Well, what you look like, what your orientation is, who you sleep with, all that kind of stuff, instead of saying who's competent for the job. I mean, heck, the Department of Transportation guy was the mayor of a city 1/5 the size of Kansas City, for crying out loud. This is what you get when your ability to do the job is not put in the forefront of being qualified for these positions. And that's the saddest part as much as anything else. So this is the weekend. I know it's a holiday weekend. I know we're sitting here on, the day after 4th of July. And you're probably like, oh, I'm just, groggy. I'm getting up. I'm getting going. That's fine. But just know that these next few days are going to be historic in determining whether or not Joe Biden goes on as the Democratic nominee and, frankly, as the president. And by the way, for those Democratic donors and Democratic operatives who are saying that Joe Biden should step down, I think they should also be calling for him to step down as president immediately. If you don't think he can serve in January of 25, why is he capable of serving in July of 2024? That's another question I have.
I was just checking if we had any information on curbside pickup for our 4th of July trees. Oh, yeah. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Just drop them at the curb or you have to take them somewhere.
6:13 as we get it rolling on a Friday morning on KCMO 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We appreciate you being here. Now, locally, Laura Kelly, Quentin Lucas were both part of, or both involved, I should say, in the presidential election news of the week. So 2 local tie-ins to this we will tell you about coming up on 95.7 FM KCMO, and we are streaming on a Friday morning right here on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
Our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden!
Ho, ho, ho! Happy Independence Day!
Ho, ho, ho! Happy Independence Day. Good morning. Happy Friday. It's great to be here on KCMO, and a ho, 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 happy Independence Day to Mike in Centerview. What's up, Mike?
Well, they always have these sales in the summertime, the Christmas in July.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe while he was up there doing that interview that somebody had that commercial on, he heard it and said, oh.
That could work. That could work there, Mike. Maybe Hunter's got some new paintings he's trying to sell or something.
But yeah, I've heard these Christmas in July, come and get them now. So
I like that.
Furniture companies and stuff do that.
You can go work damage control at the White House, Mike. You're now qualified.
I can't afford to I can't afford to cut and pay.
All right, Mike. Have a good weekend, buddy. Thanks so much. Right. Oh, man, that's too much. Yeah, Christmas in July. Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
Trying out for Holiday Touchdown.
Yeah.
The Hallmark classic.
You're going to have to compete with Mark for that. Mark's dying for a role in the Holiday Classic. Oh, boy, he can't wait. So you did have, by the way, Quentin Lucas and Laura Kelly involved with some of the presidential politics of the moment right now. So let's start with Quentin Lucas. He put up on X yesterday morning, when Kansas City needed millions for better buses, infrastructure, and health care support for all, Joe Biden has been there for us. That's the same story in cities and towns across America. He writes, that's why I'm proud to stand with Joe this 4th of July and every day. And it's a picture of Quentin Lucas in his mask from 2021 when Joe Biden was visiting Kansas City. Now, this is, I know Quentin Lucas wants to be the next HUD secretary. That has been reported and suggested that he's basically hoping to get a gig with this administration if they get reelected. I get what he's going for here, but he's got to be careful. He's really got to be careful. You just can't attach yourself to a sinking ship like Joe Biden's. You just can't. I mean, he did it late in the game in the Jackson County Stadium vote. Remember that. Quentin Lucas came out and said, yes, come out on Tuesday, April 2nd, and vote yes for a better Jackson County for the Chiefs and the Royals. And it went down in flames by almost 20 points. Now he's going to hitch his wagon to Joe Biden? I don't know which one is a bigger loser. I mean, I guess Biden's not going to lose like 18 points like the yes vote did back in April here in Jackson County. But he's got to be careful. You don't want to start stacking up the L's when you talk about your political future. If you're Quentin Lucas, you just don't want to do that. That's a bad idea and a bad look for you on many levels. So he's got to be careful. I know he wants to be loyal. I know he wants to be, potentially in the administration. But on July 4th, just be like, hey, fireworks in Kansas City tonight. Woo! Like, you can save the rah-rah Joe Biden stuff for a day that's not Independence Day. I don't know. I didn't get the benefit in that yesterday. And then on the other side of our state line, Laura Kelly. Laura Kelly was one of the Democratic governors who was virtually attending a meeting the other night on Wednesday night, the night before Independence Day, with Democratic governors and Joe Biden. So this was like a Zoom call meeting where the president wanted to reassure supporters that he remains capable of running for and winning re-election. Kansas City Star writing here, the meeting held at the White House gives the Democratic governors a chance to present a unified front behind the Biden campaign in an effort to quell a steady drumbeat of calls for Biden to step aside after a weak debate performance last week. Says here, Laura Kelly is not among those calling for a new candidate. While she has broken with Biden in the past, the Kansas Democrat has remained steadfast in her support for Biden after the debate. In a statement issued Friday, Kelly said she was continuing to back Biden on his bipartisan accomplishments. She said in the statement, he's a decent man of strong character, and I will support him in November. That is from Laura Kelly, and that's the only real statement she gave last Friday. This meeting took place 2 nights ago, and Laura Kelly was on it. But, of course, you got a lot of these Democratic governors who think they should be the one to replace Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. You got this guy Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Andy Beshear in Kentucky are all potential, and Maryland Governor Wes Moore, all potentially getting some love as replacements for Joe Biden. So we haven't heard a lot about what came out of that meeting with Democratic governors on Wednesday night, but it did take place, and Laura Kelly was on it, and she is standing by him. Now, it's not going to matter in Kansas. Trump will win by probably 10, 12, maybe 15 points. But it is telling that she's kind of just like, you know what? Joe's the guy. Let's go on. Ronnie's in Rosedale. He's next up. What's up, Ronnie? Happy Friday, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I was just kind of amazed that nobody's really mentioned this much, that made a big deal out of it. That what are Russia and China going to do when they try to call it midnight and the White House has to tell them that Joe went to bed at 8 and they might try the night manager at Burger King down the street. They're going to leave the nuclear codes with him.
10A to 4P, man. It's a 6-hour-a-day job now for this guy.
Oh, yeah. I'll try back at 11 the next morning.
Thanks, Ronnie. Everyone's in a good mood on a Friday. I like that. I like that very much. Well done there. No, it's sad, but it's true. Like, that's the report that came out earlier in the week that Biden basically is at his best and really only capable of doing the job 10A to 4P. And if you were hiring greeters at Walmart, you'd be like, dude, I need you more than that. Like, I can't have you a 10A to 4P employee. I need some night shifts out of you once in a while. You're the president of the United States. That's exactly right. China and Russia. I mean, Putin, these guys got to be licking their chops. My goodness. 913-408-7957. We are here on a Friday. No one else in the building's here, but we're here on KCMO 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. 7:05 Friday morning, post-Independence Day. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day.
Hope you had a great day. As Joe called it Christmas in July, apparently, last night there at the White House. Meantime, this video started circulating. I guess I saw it for the first time late on Wednesday night. And it was Donald Trump on the golf course. He's in the golf court with his son, Barron. And it comes off like a video that was not intended to be released for anything. But it's Donald Trump talking to some guys on the golf course. Don't know who they are, what their intentions are. But this video of Donald Trump gets recorded by one of these guys. And he's talking about the debate. And Trump says this about the debate to these guys who are just in the golf cart next to him. Take a listen.
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, amazing.
Kick that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's bad, so
I just can't imagine.
But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just keep knocking him out, right?
So that was Trump on the golf course. He called Joe Biden an old broken down pile of crap. He said, Kamala's even worse than Joe. He basically can't wait to face her. He suggests that Biden's going to be dropping out of the race. So this video leaked, but it was getting shared on social media by a lot of people in Donald Trump's corner, not just like fanboys and big social media accounts who like Donald Trump, but also some of his advisors were sharing this video. So I don't know if the video was intended to be like a leak video that embarrassed Donald Trump or was supposed to make him look bad, but I don't know. I'm watching the video and I'm saying, yeah, that's Trump. Like, I'm not watching that video and being like, oh, that's a side of Trump I never thought I'd see before. Really? I mean, that was kind of, to me, the PG version of Trump, calling Joe Biden an old broken down pile of crap. That is just Donald Trump. You don't have to like the approach, but if you know anything about Donald Trump the last 8 years, that's Donald Trump right there. And he has a point about Kamala on the back end. Like, could you imagine, on behalf of the American people, Kamala Harris going toe-to-toe with President Xi or Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un in North Korea or Hamas or the Iranians or any of the other actors on the world stage who'd love to ruin the West and kill as many Americans as they possibly can? Goodness gracious. All I can see in my own head is the Kamala Harris like laugh track.
Poor hubby. Poor hubby.
That may actually scare off guys like Putin and Xi, if nothing else. The laugh track may actually do its job in reverse. But you get the point. I can't envision that working at all. And Trump's got a point. So the Biden team caught wind of this video. And here's the part of the video that they shared on their Biden HQ social media account. And they wrote, Trump caught on video praising Putin and Xi while sitting in his golf cart. Quote, he's a fierce person. He's a fierce man. This is the part of the video they shared.
Just can't imagine. But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they probably...
Very tough guy. Okay. Like, was that supposed to embarrass Donald Trump? That's your takeaway? That he called President Xi a fierce guy? He is a fierce guy. You need the right leader to stand up to guys like this. It's very evident that the worst actors on the planet do not respect the United States right now because of the leadership. Whether you love Trump or hate him, you've got to admit that much. There is no respect for the United States. And Donald Trump's credit, he had their respect. They were at bay far more so during his time in office than they have been the last 3-4 years. And after seeing the state of Joe Biden and knowing that Kamala might be moving in, Donald Trump's ability, if he does face Kamala Harris, if that is the direction the party goes, to point out the obvious here. Who do you want dealing with these actors on the world stage? Me or her? Is an outstanding way to draw a clear distinction between the two parties and the two candidates as we sit here right now in early July. 913-408-7957. David is in Kansas City on a Friday. What's going on, David?
Good morning, Pete. I'm a big fan of what you do, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, my man.
I had a comment about Kamala and potentially, dealing with leaders like Xi Jinping and obviously Vladimir Putin. I don't remember who it was that pointed it out, but didn't she start off dating Montel Jordan? Like, don't you think she could use her God-given biological gifts in the way that she has demonstrated and handle business even internationally?
Yeah. I don't know about that one, David. I don't think let's put it this way. Thank you, David. I don't think her charm is going to work on those guys like you might think. That's all I'll say. So, and yes, I mean, her dating career and her dating record is well noted, and she's entitled to date whoever she wants to date, right? And do with those relationships whatever she wants to do. But no, I don't think President Xi is going to get swooned by Kamala Harris, if that's what you're asking here. And here's the thing, too. If I'm Donald Trump, because he kind of insinuated, by the way, over the weekend, or not over the weekend, my week is all thrown off. He insinuated yesterday on his social media, that he's going to be going up against Kamala. And he kind of cited some of her past relationships. I don't think Trump needs to go down that road. I don't. All he needs to do is point out the incompetency of the administration. And, Kamala Harris, every time she's in public in one of these big settings, she usually crashes and burns. That's why when she ran for president back in 2020, she did not even make it to Iowa. Remember, Kamala Harris was perceived to be like a frontrunner back in 2020. She dropped out before the first primary votes were cast in 2020 because she was getting crushed so bad, because the American electorate, the Democratic Party, didn't care for her. That tells you all you need to know. So if I'm Trump, I wouldn't do the pot shot thing at Kamala. I would just say, who do you want going up against Xi? Who do you want running the economy? Who do you want trying to get your prices down? Not asking you who you want to come over for dinner. I'm asking you those three questions. The jobs report is going to be dropping in 15 minutes. We will have immediate reaction to that here coming up at 7:30 on KCMO. 913-408-7957. We are here on a post-Independence Day Friday on KCMO.
Oh, happy Independence Day.
We are here. I just did a loop around our building, by the way. John, Mark, and I are still the only people here. So we're working for you on 95.7 FM KCMO. As we get set for that jobs report, this from the Wall Street Journal I found really interesting. Headline, The Blue State Wealth Exodus Continues. Basically, people are bailing on blue states and going to red states. The IRS last week published its annual data on the migration of taxpayers and adjusted gross income between states. California ranked once again as the biggest income loser, $24 billion in income. Left California in 2022, followed by New York at $14 billion, Illinois at $10 billion, New Jersey at $5 billion, Massachusetts at $4 billion. The top gainers, Florida, $36 billion, Texas, $10 billion, South Carolina, $5 billion, Tennessee, $5 billion, North Carolina, $4.6 billion. I wish Kansas and Missouri would find itself on that list, but such is life. The article goes on to note here that fewer taxpayers left New York in 2022 than during the pandemic, but its income loss was still about 50% higher than in 2019. Meaning now the big money people are fleeing. The wealthy are fleeing. For the last few years, it was people who couldn't get ahead. It was the middle class folks who were like, we can't make it here anymore. The old, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. New York, New York. That was, a nice tagline 50 years ago. That's dead now. Now it's you're insane to keep trying to make it work. New York, New York. So according to an analysis by WirePoints, New York lost 1.8% of adjusted gross income from outmigration in 2022. It's a lot of taxable income. On the other hand, Florida gained about twice as much income in 22 from other states as it did back in 2019, while Texas's income haul surged more than 150%. Other Republican-led states, South Carolina and Tennessee, also continued to draw more income from other states than before the pandemic. So you got this guy, Gavin Newsom, who's getting talked about as a potential replacement for Joe Biden, who has overseen a loss of tens of billions of dollars in income from his state. And he calls all these Republican-led states, he calls them cultural backwaters. Yet California lost income in 2022 to most Republican-led states. Texas, they lost $5.5 billion. Florida, they lost $3 billion. Tennessee, $1 billion. Utah, $1 billion. South Carolina, $400 million. Alabama, $140 million. They are fleeing Gavin Newsom's supposedly utopia progressive state for all these, rube red states. Really? Gavin Newsom has hailed the California dream, writes the Wall Street Journal in his State of the State speech last week, but his crime and vagrancy are a nightmare. Buying a home is becoming harder for young people. The governor also claimed red states, quote, tax their lowest earners far more than California does. And he calls Donald Trump a liar, writes the New York Times. He's exactly right. And employment in California is down 400,000 workers than where it was in January of 2020. So California has almost 500,000 fewer workers today than it did before the pandemic. Florida has 669,000 more workers today than it had in January of 2020. Gavin Newsom can say whatever he wants, but taxpayer flight and slower economic growth is real in his states and basically the core blue states in this country: California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts. And what do? They then raise taxes to pay for their growing welfare programs and their promises to public unions, rinse and repeat. That's what they do, and that's what they'll continue to do time and time again. So this is the kind of stuff that anybody who's running for office in any of these places or anywhere in the country should be pointing out. People are voting with their feet. They're voting with their dollars. They're leaving places they can't get ahead, or they're not willing to try to get ahead anymore because they're seeing an easier path or a more affordable path to doing it. And staying in these big, progressive blue states is not worth it to millions of Americans. And they are also, as a result, shifting the Electoral College map, which also needs to be noted and brought up as well. I saw this, where did I see this? Yesterday. Florida could gain 3 electoral votes after 2030 in the census, which would theoretically allow Republican candidates to lose the blue wall of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but win via the Sun Belt, which are growing populations and growing red states. North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, places like that. So it's changing rapidly because the American people are saying, hey, we can't make it here. We're out. They're waking up to bad economic policies. And it's going to continue to hurt the New Yorks and the Californias of the world, and I'm here for it, by the way. 913-408-7957. How you join us on 95.7 FM KCMO. Happy Friday. It is the day after Independence Day, of course.
Oh, happy Independence Day.
That's right. That was Joe last night, a little Christmas in July. Ho, ho, ho. Happy Independence Day, says the President of the United States. Everything's going great. Everything's going fine. Don't you worry one bit. And by the way, that Stephanopoulos interview that's going to be running tonight on ABC, the plan was to roll it out slowly over the weekend. The ABC newsman, George Snuffleupagus, is going to be interviewing Joe Biden. They were going to air a little bit of it tonight on ABC News, Nightly News, with pretty boy David Muir, and then air the rest of it on Sunday morning with Snuffleupagus, and then Monday on Good Morning America. I always try to say it with a straight face, but whenever I do it, I see Mark's head, bouncing around in there, chuckling away. Snuffy. I know you love him. I know you love him, Mark. And then Good Morning America on Monday. But now it sounds like the thing will air in its entirety tonight. I believe I saw it 7 o'clock Eastern time. So I don't know if that's good or bad. It probably means Joe didn't come off great if ABC is changing its plans to air it on a Friday evening, the day after Independence Day, when no one's watching the news. That's probably not a good thing or a good sign for Joe if they're changing their plans. Because honestly, Friday night's always a bad night for local news, for cable news. It's why you see a lot of the news anchors take off Friday evenings, because no one's like sitting on their couch watching cable news or local news on Friday nights. A lot of them work Sunday, especially locally. A lot of them work Sunday to Thursday because no one's watching the local news on a Friday. That tells me it's probably not a good sign there, John.
Well, you're going up against the NWSL and WNBA on Friday nights, too.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So, I mean, even more.
Yeah, you're right. Is Caitlin Clark playing tonight? Do we know?
I don't think, I keep trying to watch the games, and they haven't had a Fever game on the freebies. I'm like, gosh. Isn't that convenient?
They want you to pay for the Caitlin Clark games, huh? Apparently
like
so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of sports and feel-good things happening here in Kansas City on July 4th, it wasn't just the fireworks show last night at the National World War I Museum and Memorial, which looked absolutely outstanding. And by the way, the Overland Park fireworks show here at Corporate Woods is happening tonight at 10 p.m. We will be the soundtrack to that event, 10:05 here on KCMO. I'll have a post-show interview with the mayor of Overland Park, Kurt Skoog. So that'll air tonight in the 10 o'clock hour here on KCMO. But yesterday, Royals were taking on the Tampa Bay Rays, and who else but our man, our favorite national anthem singer, the man, the myth, the legend, Generald Wilson, was in town from St. Louis. No one sings a better anthem than this guy. He's done it at Arrowhead on multiple occasions for some of the biggest games of the year. The Royals had him out at the K last night. And courtesy of one of our listeners who tagged us in this post on X, Travis in Lenexa, here we go with Generald Wilson at the K last night.
Oh, say, can you see?
doesn't have the same feel to it as when he's at Arrowhead, but damn, he's still got it.
It can't be good for the concrete degradation there at the stadium. I mean, he's shaking the place, right?
That's right. That concrete cancer went from stage 3 to stage 4 real fast. Yeah. Oh, man.
And the flyover was pretty cool. At the very end.
Yes, it was. I know they lost the game last night, 10-8, but either way, Gennaro is usually a good luck charm for this town when he's doing the anthem, as he does a lot of the big games out at Arrowhead, and they had him last night out for the 4th of July, but the Royals came up short. They lost 2 of 3 to the Tampa Bay Rays this week, and now they hit the road a little interleague play as they go to Colorado to take on the Rockies this weekend. So get them back on track there, boys. Get them back on track. You know, you take 3 or 4 from the Guardians, and then you put up a stinker against the Rays. It's like, come on.
I was optimistic, and now I realize we're only one great catch away from being swept, really.
Yeah.
Isbell made a nice catch to wrap up the game Saturday.
Yes, Saturday.
Or not Saturday.
I know.
The whole weekend thing.
No, it's
backtrack. What was that?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Kate and I were saying the same thing. We're like, this week is so thrown off. It's, at least next year, July 4th will be a Friday, which is normal, you know? Then you get a regular 3-day weekend. Mm-hmm. But, hey, we're here. It's almost 8 o'clock on KCMO 95.7 FM. Tony Bateo, Tony's Kansas City, is our in-studio feature Friday guest here on KCMO. Mark Falter on the Jobs Report next hour on 95.7 FM. What is wrong with these weirdos who just they can't let kids be kids? What is this all about? It is one of the strangest phenomenons going on right now. Good morning. It is a Friday right after Independence Day. We are here on KCMO 95.7 FM. Great to have you on board. Hope you had a great day yesterday, a little barbecue. Hope you aren't grilling your burgers like Chuck Schumer was in that since-deleted X post where he's got a piece of American cheese on a raw burger. It's like, come on, Chucky, what are you doing, buddy? Gosh, they're so relatable. But if you didn't do that, you're probably feeling pretty good this morning. Maybe a little slow getting up late, blasting the fireworks, listening to the fireworks, but we got you for the next 2 hours. Ray Stevens takes over at 10. So, new movie, She-Hulk. I know, you're all dying to go see it. She-Hulk star Tatiana Maslany went viral here in the last day or so. Why? Well, she's really not happy with parents who want to have a say in how their kids are identifying. Yeah, she's not happy about it one bit. Reading this from yesterday at about 5 p.m., this story was posted on the New York Post website, and we do have the video here as well. She recently told the media at the Canadian Walk of Fame that she is not happy with a newly enshrined into law parental rights bill, putting it on blast, calling the measure absurd and overreach. The law, which went into effect in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan after being signed into effect last October, requires school staff to get parental permission before using a student's new preferred name or gender identity. So even in Canada, they are waking up to this. Even in Canada, they're like, yeah, parental consent actually matters. Well, she's not happy about it. Let's roll the tape.
The provincial government, they passed the Parental Bill of Rights, so requiring teachers to get parental consent when students want to change their name or pronouns at school. What's your thought on that?
I believe that it's outside of it should not be the control of the parents whether a child, how a child identifies, how a child knows themselves to be. That isn't a parent's place. It's an overreach. It's an overreach on the part of the provincial government to legislate that. It's absurd. Children have rights. Children are human beings who have knowledge and who know themselves, and we should be taking cues from them. In so many ways, we should be taking cues from them, listening to them, empowering them to know who they are and to name that. It's their right. It's not the parents' right.
What a nut job. I know you'll be shocked to learn that Tatiana Maslany does not have children. I know, you're stunned.
Talk about a bombshell.
But she does not have kids. Because anybody who has kids or has raised children knows that the dumbest thing to say is that we should listen to kids on things like, I feel like I'm a girl when I'm really a boy, or I feel like I'm a boy when I'm biologically a girl. Now, like, that is not, if I just listen to my kids, they'd eat crap all day, they'd watch television all day, and, after about a week, they'd be a complete mess because they wouldn't nap, they wouldn't sleep, they'd poop on the floor. Like, no, they're children for a reason, you freak. With all due, like, I don't know how else to put it. But this is an incredibly reasonable law coming out of Canada, which is kind of a shocker in and of itself. That, even in Saskatchewan, they are putting together common sense laws. Like, yeah, if you want to change your name or your gender identity, the school is going to require parental permission to do that. Wow, some common sense actually to the north here, eh? How about that?
I was going to say, you got to get permission, eh?
This is communist rhetoric, is what this is.
I don't even think communism's that insane.
Depends who you ask, I suppose.
Well, I don't know if Karl Marx was empowering kids or much.
That's true.
Not only was she She-Hulk, she was also in a movie called Two Lovers and a Bear. So we can take that.
Wow. Well, good for her. She really picks the gems, I suppose. This is the kind. This is opening the door, by the way, to pedophilia. That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly they want to create this world where, the adult age of 18 is a made-up number. 21 is a made-up number. And kids should be treated like adults because we're all just persons on the planet. We're all just here to love each other. And that's the next wave. That's the next phase of this. Because if you create a culture and if you create a country and a world where kids are not treated as children, despite the fact, and here's what's amazing too, these are the same people that claim we're all going to die from climate change in like 10 years, right? And if you deny what they say on climate change, you are denying the data. We have data that clearly now shows that children's brains are not developed until they're oftentimes into their early 20s, and boys are later than girls. That data is out there. And they want to go against that data now and suggest that if you're 10, 11, 12 years old and you insist that while you're a biological boy, you're really a girl or vice versa, that we must accept that parents have no say in any of that, and it's the government's job to confirm whatever children want to be faxed. No, that's not a society or a culture living in the modern world. In fact, that's like backtracking. That's going backwards. That's not moving forwards. That's going backwards is what that is. And that's what you have going on right now, it looks like, in large part, with some of these people, because she's not alone. This actress, she's Canadian, by the way. That's why she was asked about this at the Canadian Hall of Fame. Yeah, she's not one of ours.
We've got enough of our own as it is.
Exactly.
We don't need any more.
Maybe she can take Rosie O'Donnell if Trump wins again,
Yeah.
I know they promised that the first time around. It never happened, but they might have a second chance to all move out of the country. They can join her up in Canada or something like that. Wes is in Gladstone. He's on KCMO. Hi, Wes. Good morning.
Yeah, Pete. Hey, you nailed it when you called this woman a freak. But that's what she is, man. I mean, trying to say kids are – basically she's saying kids are adults. And anybody that thinks that is a freak. But your other point about, hey, this sounds like communist rhetoric. Hey, Russia is ruled by an ex-KGB hitman, and he doesn't espouse that freakish crap, man. That's how crazy things have gotten.
Yeah.
That, I mean.
It's amazing, too. It's one thing to believe this craziness, but now we're in the place where people are emboldened to say this stuff. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not even like they believe it and they have their little secret clubs where they talk about this. Like, now they're literally saying to media and bragging on the internet, saying this kind of nonsense.
And it don't get any freakier than that, bro.
No. It doesn't, Wes.
Good fourth.
All right. Yeah, we had a good fourth there, buddy.
Ho, ho! Happy Independence Day.
I hope you had a good
Merry
one, Wes.
Christmas, Joe.
Yeah. It's Christmas in July. 913-408-7957. I am not looking to, and by the way, none of us should want to live in a world where the government runs the children and a government is going to confirm whatever a child wants to be true. What's next? Kid's going to screw up a math test. Teacher's going to be like, no, you got the answer wrong. 2 + 2 does not equal 7. No, that's my truth. How dare you deny my truth? That's what they're creating. And they are opening up the door to pedophilia by somehow claiming that children are not children, everybody's just a human being, and we should all be treated the same. No. Nope. Not on my watch. I hope not on yours either. 8:15, Mark Falter, bottom of the hour. 913-408-7957. Tony Bateo of Tony's Kansas City is our feature Friday guest at 9:05 on 95.7 FM. As I continue to comb through the jobs report that dropped last hour, here's another tidbit for you. Over the last year, 943,000 native-born Americans lost jobs on the net, while foreign-born workers picked up almost 1.2 million jobs. That is data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Native-born Americans losing almost 1 million jobs, foreign-born workers picking up 1.2 million jobs over the last 12 months. Wow. And as I posted on X and on Facebook this morning, when the jobs report came out, the most concerning part of this is of the 206,000 new jobs that were created in June, 70,000 of them came from the government. That is your local government, your state government, your federal government. They led the way. The biggest job creator last month in the United States was the government. The government does not create anything. Eventually, the government runs out of other people's money. It's unsustainable for the government to be 1 or 2 every single month in job creation. Because the only way to create a government job is to take money from those in the private sector. It's unsustainable. And it's one of the reasons the job market has continued to look better over the last couple of years. When you go back, you'll see the government keeps adding jobs. And by the way, it's one of the sneaky facts about inflation that doesn't get enough attention. Inflation means that everything you buy costs more, right? Which means sales tax monies continue to go up, which means the government on the local, county, state, and eventually federal level is collecting more money than ever before on things like sales tax revenues, locally on property taxes. All that money's gone up tremendously, exponentially in many respects. So that's happening. So they've got more money than ever to spend with and do with what they want, whether it's, hiring or building or whatever. So they don't actually mind inflation. It's the dirty little secret that at least at the local level, the government doesn't mind inflation. You go to Hy-Vee. Your groceries were $100 4 years ago. Now they're $120. You are paying 20% more for your groceries, which means you're paying 20% more to the government to buy the same goods. They are flush with cash, man. And they are spending it like drunken sailors. And they're hiring and they're building out new buildings and they're doing the whole thing, John.
Well, I'm making more money. I tip myself at the self-checkout. So I'm doing pretty good.
Good for you, man. I'll tell you what, I was in a Hy-Vee the other day, and I always do self-checkout. I was with the girls. Sure. It was on Sunday after church. We ran over there, had to get some things. And I don't think they had ever done a regular checkout because we always do self-checkout. But there was a checkout lane open. I said, girls, come on, we're going to hop in here and do the regular checkout. So what do? They see the, what do you call it? The thing that moves.
Conveyor.
Yeah, the conveyor belt. Yeah, they see that thing. And right away they start putting their hands on it and then putting their hands in their mouths. I'm like, no, that thing's filthy. Especially the 3-year-old. She starts
got a bongo beat going on.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, don't touch that thing and get your hand out of your mouth. Please stop. What are you doing? Oh. On the text line, David in Kansas City says, Pete, they got to hire the 80,000 new IRS agents. Well, yeah. No, see, here's the thing. That's not just this number is not just the federal government. In large part, it's not the federal government. It's the local municipalities, it's your cities, it's your counties, it's your states, because they're doing great too. They're living large, man. Pete, I also want to know how many of these jobs are part-time jobs. That's a very good question. I have not been able to dive into the numbers enough to see what the part-time job status is versus what the full-time job status is on some of these new gigs. But that's a great question. How many people are adding secondary jobs, secondary part-time jobs, just to kind of maintain the lifestyle that they previously may have had? That's a great question on the text line. So we've got to get to the bottom of all that as we roll through the hour here on KCMO.
Well, they determine the private sector jobs, and they say, how many more do we need to get to that projection?
Yeah.
And then they add those government jobs.
Yeah,
so
that's
we
right.
had 190,000 private jobs, so we needed another 70 to get up there.
Yeah, exactly. Meantime, yesterday, of course, at the White House, you had the president doing a little, rah-rah America type of thing. And we've beaten this thing to death, but I don't care because it's absolutely hilarious.
Oh, Happy Independence Day.
All right. That thing's dead on Monday, so just let me have fun with that. I've got an hour and 35 minutes left of the show, and after that, it's over, at least until next year. So just please appease me on this for the next hour and a half, because that clip is just, it doesn't get old, where Joe Biden takes the microphone from Kamala Harris and says, ho, 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 happy Independence Day. Yep, everything's fine. He's doing great. So this was also at the White House yesterday, where the president was speaking. This is before he wished everyone a ho, 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 happy Independence Day. This was earlier in the evening. He was talking to reporters and talking to folks. Looked like it was on the South Lawn, and that didn't go well either.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere. All right. All right, I'll come back out when they open the gate, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. One last thing. I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. We go on the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Thank you.
What the heck's going on? What is that story? What does any of that mean?
Real-time traffic brought to you by the president.
But is there no traffic on the roads when he's driving around because he's got, Secret Service and they shut down the roads? What was that story? What is going on? Oh, my goodness. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Everything is fine. It's going to be okay. All right? That's what they'll tell you. I mean, it's the old George Orwell final command. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. George Orwell, 1984. Reject the evidence of your eyes and your ears. Okay? Just do it.
Come on, man.